All right. I've just filmed my hasty but overly long comic book thoughts video, and now for a haul video, there was a half off sale of back issues at Excalibur Comics nearby, and they have these half off sales, I think about 3 times a year, maybe 4 times a year. So I kind of wait for those sales to buy a lot of back issues. So I bought a lot of back issues. Nothing, nothing very special. I was going for stuff I want that was not very expensive, especially with the half off price. For instance, this giant size Fantastic Four, uh, which is drawn by Rich Buckler, who I have a soft spot for his Fantastic Four, even though it's so Jack Kirby, such a Jack Kirby ripoff. Um, and I remember thinking this comic was really cool when I was a kid, with Fantastic Four fighting the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. So we'll see what I think about it when I reread it as an adult. And uh, there's this 3-issue story involving Thundra and this Machismo, the nuclear man, I believe his name is. So there's a world ruled by women, and a universe ruled by women, and a universe ruled by overly macho men. And the Fantastic Four gets mixed up in a big conflict between those two worlds, and that's like a 3-issue arc. And I thought it would be fun. Again, Rich Buckler art. I think written by Jerry Conway. So I thought it would be fun to dive into that. Sexual politics as seen by young Jerry Conway, probably 20 years old or something at the time. And then I'm slowly filling in. I'm almost done filling in my run of Captain America that goes from the beginning of Steve Englehart's time on Captain America to up to where Jack Kirby took over Captain America. And actually, I'm collecting most of the Jack Kirby Captain America stuff too, although not as thoroughly because I already own the omnibus of that, and I kind of like seeing that in the big size and the brighter colors. But I wanted to read all the Steve Englehart stuff. There seems to be, towards the end, a mix of writers, so some of these issues are by Steve Englehart and some aren't. I think I only have 1 or 2 issues left to get the run that is my goal for getting. So I got 3 of them, and I think maybe there's just 2 more that I need to get, and then I will be all done. This one sadly has Frank Robbins artwork in it, but what an awesome cover by Gil Kane on Captain America and the Falcon number 190. An all-action issue. Back to the giant size comics. There's giant size Defenders. This one is like plotted by 10 or 12 different people, it seems, and drawn by Don Heck. Drawn by Don Heck has its pluses and minuses. At least it's not drawn by Frank Robbins. Let's see. You won't believe it. Steve Gerber, Jerry Conway, Roger Sliffer, Len Wein, Chris Claremont, and Scott Edelman, hey Scott, plotted this tale. Steve scripted it. Don Heck drew it. Mike Esposito inked it. Dave Hunt inked the backgrounds. So anyway, I guess they were in a rush to get these giant-sized things out. They probably needed more writers or something. But yeah, so I paid like $2.50 for that. Maybe some of these should have just been in dollar bins, but the most expensive comic I spent in this little spree of cheap comics was Thunder Agent's Invisible Agent No Man, Trapped in the Past, number 1. There were only 2 issues of this comic. Awesome, I think a Wally Wood cover. I don't think the art on the inside's Wally Wood. So the sticker price was $19.95, so I paid $10 for this, and I don't know if that's a good price or not. But I have reprints of some of the Thunder Agents, but no original Thunder Agent comics. And I thought, gee, I want to own an original Thunder Agent comic. So this one cost me $10, while most of the others cost me between $2 and $3 usually, maybe $4. There might have been one or two $5 ones. I did the math, and overall on this haul I averaged $3 a comic. These would have been $1.50, I guess. Finally finished my Night Force collection. At least according to CLZ, I was missing these 3 issues. 4. I thought I had these though, but I went ahead and bought them. They cost almost nothing. 7, and love the covers to the Night Force. I love this cover. I could swear I already have it, but CLZ said I didn't. Number 12, so maybe I have doubles of those. No big deal. It's something I want to go back and reread, and just have a fondness for that period. And then I've been collecting the short run of the revived Mystery in Space back in the late 70s, I believe, or was it early 80s? So now I have all of the ones from that period. Mystery in Space lay fallow for a long time. It had been the place for Adam Strange. They brought it back as just an anthology of cool science fiction stories. So I needed 112 and 116 to fill out that run. I wonder who this cover's by. I thought at first maybe Jim Starlin, but now I'm not so sure. It's a really cool cover. I don't see a signature anywhere. Well, that almost looks... I can't tell. Maybe my CLZ app will say. I got this 2-issue mini of Lois Lane by someone named Mindy Newell, and the late great... I think he's not still alive. Anyway, the great Gray Morrow, who was not your standard comic book artist. Let me... Oh. That's issue 1, and that's issue 2. And they're oversized. They came out at the same time, as you can see here, as The Watchmen. And so I think, Watchmen was the most successful, but I think DC at the time was doing lots of playing around with their characters in lots of different ways. And here doing a story without any superheroics, kind of a mystery story, but I'm not sure, with a very different art style. Amazingly, this is colored by Joe Orlando, once of EC fame and then a longtime editor, I think, at DC, considered one of their better editors. I don't know if he was still an editor then. It was not edited by Joe Orlando. Maybe when he got ousted as editor, they occasionally gave him coloring. Because it was edited by Rob Greenberger. Yeah, I don't know if anyone knows anything about Mindy Newell. I'm not sure who she was or anything. I guess I should Google that. But I'm quite intrigued by this. Okay, then the core of what I wanted to buy this time was Silver Age Superman family stuff, meaning Superman comics and Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen and what have you, because I feel like a lot of that is probably... if it was all going to be reprinted in omnibuses, I'd be happy to get them that way. So I'm looking for cheap copies of these 50-year-old comics that I don't think, for the most part, are going to be collected. And I want to read them, and to me, they're kind of a piece of comic book history that I now find very interesting. With these odd, quirky puzzle stories that, they aren't real puzzles, they're tricks that only a kid would really be fooled by, or not. You can't figure out the puzzle to them always. I got 2 issues of Action Comics, which have Supergirl as the backup in them. And this one I've already read with my daughter. Superman has dreams because of, do I want to spoil it for you? Anyway, it's for Batman fans to try to figure out the clues in his dreams. And I can't see that anyone would actually be able to figure out the clues in his dreams, which would tell you why they happened. But still a lot of fun to read. And this issue where Superman fights Eterno, the gigantic immortal, a issue written by Jim Shooter. And I thought it was Very interesting for written by a teenager. And at the back of one of these is a Supergirl written by Jim Shooter, where Supergirl goes to a planet that is ruled by teenagers. And Jim Shooter, of course, was a teenager at the time. Anyway, I found that kind of charmed me. Then I've got a bunch of these old 60s Superman. What issue? 153? 153, where he's having, having a showdown with a bunch of criminals from Krypton. Here's one that has drawings all over the cover, but as a one that involved all these characters we see on the cover, it was one I wanted to read with my daughter. So I got it, even though I'm not happy with the condition of it. A lot of Kandor and Krypton kind of stories. Just couldn't resist these. Oh, here was one of the most expensive ones I bought at $5, but I had to have this. You don't even in these Silver Age comics, you don't actually often see his enemies his supervillain enemies that often. It's usually some other weird thing going on. So I was curious what Brainiac and Lex Luthor teaming up would be like in 1966 or whenever that was. And I can never resist, Superman being beaten up by super women who, of course, dress sexy and seem to live on a desert island or something. Superman versus Earth, Wind, and Fire. The band? No, the Elements. Superman in Chains, of course. The Day Superman Became an Assassin. I wonder if this is the one where he's on the world. I read about it. My daughter and I read the Superman Encyclopedia sometimes at bedtime. There was a series where he was on a planet where he had no powers and Lex Luthor was considered a great hero. And now Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. All of these look great. The League of Fantastic Superman. You got the lion-headed one, the future brain-headed one, the old man one. Oh, and then the real Superman, I guess. Jimmy Olsen as a porcupine. Jimmy Olsen and Superman teaming up to be Batman and Robin, or Flamebird and Nightwing. The great inspiration for Dick Grayson. Jimmy Olsen meeting up with Supergirl yet again, when Supergirl replaced Jimmy Olsen. Oh, and I've always wanted to see Jimmy Olsen as a member of the Legion of Superheroes, so I couldn't resist this one. Jimmy's Legion Romances. Every girl loves a plasticky, stretchy guy. This one's pretty beat up. But anyway, so I get these, like I said, to read, and because I don't think they're going to be thoroughly reprinted in some really nice omnibus. So then on to the Lois Lane, which often are my most favorite of all, in their goofy, now totally inappropriate kind of approach to male-female relationships and all of that. What's the story in this one? Lois Lane, volunteer nurse. The first man who could make her forget about Superman. And it looks like he's in the Iron Lung or something. And Lois dressed as a Kryptonian, it looks like. Featuring an amazing imaginary novel, Lois Lane's Outlaw Son. Yes, Mother, I'm going to be the greatest scientific villain of all. I'll succeed where Dad failed. I'll kill your old boyfriend, Superman. Oh, so it's Lex Luthor's son. Love that cover. Another cover I love. Is that Lois Lane there or someone else? Featuring a great imaginary story. If Lois Lane were Superwoman and Clark Kent just an ordinary man. She also looks to be very gigantic, and someone wrote on her leg. I paid $4.50 for that one, so that's one of the more expensive ones too. Love the cover of this. Looks like Lois Lane is going to marry some kind of chic Lois Lane Arabian princess. I guess they're counting out her dowry, maybe? her weight in gold. And goodbye, Superman. We're tired of waiting for you to propose. When we wake up in the future, you'll be dead, dead, dead. Lois and Lana. So I guess they've been cryogenically frozen. Oh, the problems Superman had with women. And here's Lois Lane, the Lady Dictator. That's an amazing cover. Featuring Lois Lane's strangest role. Please, Lois, show mercy. Don't make me execute an innocent man. I love the way the innocent man is dressed, too. I suppose he's an artist. Oh, and this one is awesome. Featuring the demon in the bottle. Looks like Lois Lane finds a genie. Lois, don't fall for his line. He's trying to trick you into taking his place in the bottle. Sexy, sexy. And another one where Lois Lane has superpowers. Bullets bounce right off her. Although, are they ripping her clothes? I can't tell for sure. Lois, those bullets are bouncing off you. You're super like me. Right, Superman? Now do we get married? Because supposedly Superman's excuse for not marrying Lois is always that it would endanger her. So only when she gets superpowers can they get married. I feel like I've read several stories already where they almost get married when she gets superpowers. Then, I don't know much about this one. It's yet another DC mystery anthology with this wild, strange cover for the time by Neil Adams. Number 13. It's 12 o'clock, the witching hour. And that number 16. I'm not sure who that... I can't immediately tell who that cover's by. You wanted to be rich, but there's a price to pay. Look at yourself. Oh, vanity. Once Upon a Midnight Dream. This is a kind of a creepy cover. Muffin, come up here. Don't you know you can get hurt down here? Looks like a serial killer story or something. And The Haunted Houseboat. It's Midnight, the Witching Hour. 52 big pages, number 21. So that wraps up all the stuff I bought. I'm really happy with my purchases. I think when I took it out of the bag, one of the Fantastic Four issues I bought was all water warped and stuff, and I wasn't aware of that in the bag, and it was not particularly cheaper than the others. So kind of some bad luck there. But overall, I'm glad I bought all these things. I'm already read several, as I mentioned, several of the Silver Age ones with my daughter, and I'll be reading more. I don't know if I should make videos with comic book thoughts about these goofy Silver Age ones. I'll think about that. Talk to y'all later.